Shit,
My
what's
man,
happening?
how you doing, brother?
I'm
Good to
good,
see you,
you.
man.
Man, good to see
Chilling,
you
bro.
too.
Is that you got
What's
a
up?
gold chain on? That's a big gold chain, man.
Oh, right on, man. Appreciate you. A little something, something, something.
Right, right. Man, I just got done. Man, I was barbecuing some chicken, and over here in Fresno, it's like out of nowhere, it hit like 83, 84, and I was like, dang, because I was out there and I just soaked up all that sun. You know how when you're out in the sun for a while, and then you kind of get like lethargic, kind of. I was like,
Oh, you're
wow.
beat. Yeah, you're beat right now.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. I take a nap. I'm energized. I came prepared for this one, man. I came prepared.
Right on, yeah, for sure, man. It's all right out here. It's about 53, 54. It got kind of high today, about 58 to 60. So we starting to get a little touch of the summer right now out here in the
Oh,
city of the snow.
that where are you at again?
I'm in Denver, Colorado.
Oh, it's beautiful out there, huh?
Yeah, man. What I like about it, a lot of people don't like it, but we got four seasons out here. So we get the winter, the summer, the snow, in the winter and the fall and the spring. So we touch it all pretty much. So it
Right,
just ain't
right,
no set hot all year round. I couldn't deal with that.
right. Oof, man, that's
Yeah.
here in Fresno. It gets about in the summer. I'd say it gets like 110, 112.
Oh yeah. I
Man,
couldn't do that. Hey man, I wouldn't come out till the nighttime messing around with that state.
right, right. That's what I'm shoot. That's what I'm saying, man. Shoot. You been good though.
Yeah.
You been good though, Alex.
Yeah, man. I've been chilling. Everything's good on my end. Can't complain, man. Health good, family good. That's all I can ask for.
How's that business going? Pretty good.
Oh yeah, we starting to
Roofing
pick up
business.
now. Yeah, it's starting to
Right.
pick up a lot now. It kind of slowed down during the beginning of the year due to the weather because it's been snowing a lot out here and it's been cold, and it seems now that the stimulus checks and all the taxes are returning. We're starting to pick
Right.
up now. We've had about 4 or 5 moves this month. I'm scheduled
Wow.
for a couple more this week, so yeah, we're doing our little thing.
Wow. So what are you averaging out? Like how many moves a week?
A week we do anywhere from 2 to 3 a week, I would say.
And that's
Yeah.
busy, huh? Is that
Yeah,
busy?
that's somewhat busy because I work a full time job too. So I'm working 40 on the clock, and then when I get out of work, I might go do a move, and if not, I'll schedule it for like my days off. But like I said, this week, let me see. Matter of fact, here's our board right here. So
Right.
just this past week, we hit three, and then I got two more set for this coming week. So yeah,
You're on it, man. That's what I like to that's what I like to see, man. Stay busy and keep that money rolling in. It don't stop. Now, like, does it usually pick up when it gets warmer, like during the summer and stuff?
yeah. From what I know, because I've been incarcerated for the past 11 years, 8 months. But
Wow.
I used to be a mover when I was younger, so yeah,
Okay.
we had a job every day of the week.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what I like to hear, man. That's good. That's good. How was your transition? How was your transition into society after prison?
To be honest with you, man, after the time I did, it was pretty smooth, I would say, because I had a lot of family support throughout the years. And something I told myself in the inside was, I'm like a light switch, man. You put me in the middle of a Walmart somewhere, people wouldn't even know I've done all the time I've done because I'm so good with people.
Right.
So it was pretty smooth, I would say, overall.
Right. Hey, Alex,
Yeah.
do you think society views like people that have been incarcerated like badly, like a negative
Uh,
effect, kind of like they're judging?
to be honest with you, from what I experienced, nah, it's more accepted nowadays. I kind of had that fear coming out, but with my first job that I had, I actually told the individual, man, look, I'm fresh out of prison. I got an ankle monitor on. I've done X amount of time, and I'm just looking to get on my feet. And the dude pretty much respected me for that. He pretty much told me, man, I appreciate you being so honest. And with that being said, man, I'm gonna go ahead and hire you. So nowadays, like, it seems like prison is like a cool thing, I would say. I mean, to individuals that's never been, it's like, wow, you've been to prison. What was it like? What happened? Why'd you go? And it's more like uh non-taboo, I would say. So
Right.
it's not what I imagined when I was in there coming out.
Right. Man, just from talking to you and like how how you put your senses together and stuff, man. You're well sounded, and I wouldn't even think myself. You've been in prison, but a lot of people don't know is that a lot of the people that are inside prison are very intelligent and they're very smart. Because
Yeah.
you guys read the books, you guys you gain a lot of knowledge from one another. um, and you guys are well structured. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for you, you're on time, you're structured. I can tell you know what I mean? You're ready to go. And I respect that a lot, man. Um, but let's get into it. Let's get into it, Alex. I'm ready when you are.
I'm
You ready to go?
yeah, I'm ready to jump. Shit, whatever you want to do, man. This your gig. I'm just hanging out.
Right. So for the people that don't know you, just give them a little bit about your background, who you are, how you're brought up, raised. Um, you know, that's about it. And
Okay.
we'll get into it.
All right, man. So my name is Alex Montoya. I'm from Denver, Colorado, in the Montbello section. 80239 from the 5280. I was born 4/8/87, so I'll be 34 in the next coming week and a half. I was raised by a single parent mother with the help of my grandparents, a grandfather and a grandmother, which was my mom's mom and dad. I had four uncles, no siblings at the time. And in my neighborhood, man, it's like anywhere else, man. We got gangs, we got drugs, we got violence, we got middle class is kind of where I grew up in. And I grew up in a good home. I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat nothing and say it was broken or no nothing like that. Um, I had a good childhood upbringing, and I started working at a young age. So I think that's where I went wrong, man. I burnt myself out at a young age, and I got a taste of easy money, and then from that moment on, basically is kind of where I started dealing drugs, committing robberies, burglaries, thefts, all that type of stuff, and that ended up inevitably sending me to the penitentiary for 11 years, 8 months on a 16-year sentence at the age of 21. But the case that I caught happened when I was 16, so it didn't catch up to me until 5 years later.
Right.
You
Hey,
know?
Alex, do you think I was on an interview with one of my guests, and he mentioned like the environment people live in. He used a really great example about his two cousins,
Okay.
um, and one went to the military and one joined gangs and now is in prison. They were raised by a single mother. And what he said, it's what you choose, like how you choose your life. Do you think the environment you live in affects your life ahead of time, kind of in a way?
Yeah, that's funny you say that because I've been speaking to one of my childhood friends that I grew up with by the name of Cole Cruz, and I've been knowing this guy since I was about 6, 7 years old, and we grew up on the same block. So that question that you just asked me is something that just resonated with us recently. And to be honest with you, yeah, man, it is a lot. It does have to do with your upbringing because some individuals are forced into this life, and what I mean by that is they grow up in the broken homes where, let's say, their mom is, prostituting, their daddy's not around, they got to fend for themselves. So, somebody steps in as a father figure and, you know, leads them in the wrong direction, hustling, robbing, stealing. And with that being said, if an individual is raised like that, how do you pull them back from what they grew up on and learned at a young age? People are forced into this lifestyle. And with that being said, you can tell, somebody don't do this, don't do that. But if that's what's feeding their family, if that's what's keeping the lights on in the house, they don't know nothing but that. I mean,
Right.
you can try to teach them to go another way, but at the end of the day, man, it's all about your environment.
Right, absolutely. Do you think the government kind of portrays in that, kind of like is involved in that, like the Section 8 housing, poverty homes, the funding of the schools? You go up north, like for an example here, North Fresno is very rich, and then you go South Fresno, Southeast Fresno, it's very infested, poverty like gangs and all that. Um, but it's another thing. Like if you have a decent school and there's teachers that care for you, etc. People also use that as an outlook as well. Um, but if your majority of these schools, for an example, Detroit, South Detroit, it's it's all violence, you know. It's all violence. Not enough teachers are gonna, you know, want to work there, you know what I mean. And these kids actually need help. They need a handout, you know, not a handout, but you know, someone to
A hand
help
up.
them through
Yeah.
through their tough times, because most of them don't have that father figure or parents at all. Like you said, mothers prostituting, um, you know, or there's like a big family of like eight, and there's only a single mother, just stuff like that, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I feel like personally it starts with the schooling system as well. What are your thoughts on that?
Again, I think it all depends on your environment, because an individual could be strong-minded to want to do the right thing, but the circumstances is what leads them in a different direction. So, say a kid wants to go to school and better themselves, but what happens if they don't have clothes to go to school in? What happens if their mother don't have food to feed them? You know what I mean? Before it gets to that, it's all about survival. So,
Right.
and I'm not taking away anything that you just said, but some people are born in a situation that they can't control, and
Absolutely.
there are teachers and there are programs that do benefit the community. And with that being said, it depends on the individual. So, it's all about you know individuals within themselves, because you can be the person that wants to do this and that, but what if your household environment doesn't allow that? Because I mean, what
Right.
kid really wants to go to school barefooted, or what kid wants to go to school
Absolutely.
in some raggedy clothes? You know
Right.
what I mean? And nowadays, with this social media thing being so hot, like, man, you go to school with your big toe hanging out your Chuck Taylors, you're gonna get clowned one time, and you're gonna say, I ain't going back to school ever again. I'm about to
Right.
hit the block, sell dope. I'm about to do what I got to do so I can be that individual with some Jordans. So,
Right.
you got to be a strong-willed individual to get through something like that, to go ahead and block out the noise and pursue, a great future with your environment being what it is. So it does
Right.
break down to the individual, but your environment has a lot to do with it.
Absolutely, Alex, man. I'm glad you said that too. So how was now being 21 and, you know, going into prison? That's very young, you know. How did you manage? You know, how did you manage the lifestyle, spending 11 and a half, 11 years, right?
Yeah, about 11, almost 12, 11 years, eight
Almost 12.
months.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
was that for you?
Uh, let's see. Okay, the first time I went to jail, I was a juvenile. I was like 12 or 13 years old. I went to juvenile hall for assault, and as time progressed, man, I started going back and forth from juvenile for little thefts, burglaries, and things like that. And then I hit 18. I was on the run from a juvenile case, and I ended up getting caught. So I went to the county at 18 years old. From 18 to like 21, I was in and out of the county. It seemed like I'd always get arrested right before the summertime. So being in the county, for those that can relate, you run into some old heads in there that always say, "Hey, man, I can't wait to get back to prison, and I got to be in prison for X amount of years, and then sitting in the county for 6 months." And being young like that, you're like, "Man, fuck prison! Like, who wants to go to prison? That's crazy."
Right.
So, like, I was already mentally prepared just because of the in and outs I've done. But when I was fighting the charge that I was fighting, it was a different ball game, because it wasn't like I'm going to prison for a couple years. Like, it was either the rest of my life or double digits. So by the grace
Right.
of God, man, I ended up, taking a 16-year sentence, avoiding a life plus 96-year sentence. So sitting in the county 2.5 years, fighting three different uh, counties with several charges stemming out of them, it was just more of how much time can I get out of this? Regardless if I got to go to prison, I'm not worried about the time or what's going to happen in prison. I just don't want to go for the rest of my life. So
Right.
that's what got me through it.
Right, absolutely. Now, why, Alex? Why do people like are so eager, you know, to go to prison when they're sitting in county? You know, what's the what? How's that work?
Well, the reason why people are in a rush to get to prison is because you got more freedom in the penitentiary. You can move around. Your movement is more open. You're not limited to just one unit, one pod. You got access to the phone when you need it. You got access to showers when you want one. You got weights in there. You got PlayStations, Xboxes. You got better canteen, you have more comfortable clothes, you have a shower that's close to your cell, you have a wet cell. You know, you got wet cells and dry cells, and the difference between that is you either have a toilet and a sink in your cell or you don't.
Mm,
So it's just a man, it's just a better world than there. You'd rather be in the penitentiary than the county. So
right.
yeah, it is true. You'd rather be in prison than sitting in the county.
Right, because I feel like, man, you got people, that are right off drugs and, you know, 3 days clean, but it's the withdrawals and stuff that they deal with, and there's a whole bunch of chaos. People off the streets that know each other that have beef. Um, for me personally, I try to like put myself in other people's shoes that have been in jail, county to in prison too. And for me, I would just feel so claustrophobic, man. Those cells,
Yeah.
how tiny they are, and sharing it with someone. I don't know how it was in Colorado, if you shared a cell with someone, but man, I would be so claustrophobic. But I, I don't know, because I'll look, because I do a lot of research and on these institutions and stuff compared to like others in different countries, and like the ones in these other countries and stuff. It's like an apartment, literally. It's like an apartment living, and I don't know. It's more about, and they don't have jumpsuits. It's all street clothes, so it's like it's totally different. And their rehabilitation programs are more consistent. Like, people don't really reoffend. The numbers are lower.
Okay.
But I feel like here in America, it's more reoffending. But I have to say the system is somewhat corrupt, um, because, well, it has gotten better. When you said, when you got out, about being a felon and this and that, you're straight up about him. Um, but I interviewed this other dude, and he was like, "Yeah, man, like I even tried applying to McDonald's and I couldn't even get a job." So it's very unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, you know, it like it depends on it depends on the individual because well, for one, like as you were speaking about the cells, man, after doing so much time, that becomes your home. That's your comfort zone. And when you're in a pod with over 100 individuals, and it could be three depending on your unit, but your cell becomes your sanctuary. You want to go in there, whether it's a 6x9 or it's maybe a 6x8. Like you want to get in there and meditate. You want to drown out the noise and just think. You want to figure out your next move. You want to figure out, you know, what's the best route to take, whether it's to chow, to the weight pile, to a visit, or what are you going to do when you get out? And to me, man, I just liked being in there by myself because it allowed me time to get to know myself a lot better, get to figure me out. And getting out of prison and going through the obstacles I went through, I set myself up in the penitentiary to better myself for when them obstacles came. And what I mean by that is at one facility I was at, I volunteered to work at a goat farm. And, individuals are like, man, who the fuck wants to work at a goat farm at 4 in the morning? But I'm just sitting here thinking about the real world. People take their freedom for granted. And at times, I can kind of catch myself slipping back into that a little bit, but then I realize where I just came from and it pulls me back in. So the reason for the goat farm was in the state of Colorado, you only make 89 cents a day working for the penitentiary. So a month, right? 89 cents. So a month after restitution, I was walking away with $15. So, if you don't have a family that's supporting you or, you know, loving you, I should say, you're going to starve to death in the penitentiary. You're going to come out built like a toothpick rather than you've been away for a long time doing time the right way. So, with that job and working them hours, it was basically programming me to get out here and appreciate $12 an hour. That was the first job I
Right.
got, was working in a gym. And I was running into some individuals and they were asking me, man, I didn't know you were out. How you doing? Where you working? Whatever, whatever. So I told them, I'm working at a gym and I'm making $12 an hour. And they gave me that look like 12 an hour. But little did they know I was making $15 a month. So
Mm-hmm.
when my boss offered me $12 an hour, in my head, I started calculating like, damn, you know how much canteen I can buy in a day in the penitentiary if I was still in there. So with that
Right.
goal form, like I said, man, it just set me up to get out and appreciate the things that everybody takes for granted out here. So
Right.
that was just a stepping stone from 12 to 16 to 17, 15, or 17, 50, 18, and then owning my own company. So,
Right.
I had to do that myself, man, because the penitentiary just wants you to work to keep them rolling. So it's all about the individual when it comes to that aspect.
Right. Hey, Alex, do you feel like 89 cents is kind of under the barrel, and it's kind of somewhat slave work? You're almost working for free. 89 cents.
Exactly. It is, man. They got losses going on in there. And at a point in time, like it was a point where an individual made like $2 a day. And that sounds like nothing too. But in the penitentiary, if you can make $2 a day, that's good living because you can buy your hygiene, your food, you can buy your phone time, you can do a lot of things with that type of money. But there's rumors saying that it's supposed to switch over to everybody making minimum wage in the penitentiary. How true that is, I'm not too sure. But at the end of the day, man, I'm always going to be for my side of the fence, but I can kind of see where they're going with that. They want you to feel um like they want you to feel like a slave, but if you're strong-minded, man, you're going to get out with that ammunition to want to be better than what you were in the penitentiary. If you were sitting here scrubbing toilets and scrubbing boogers off the walls for 89 cents a day, imagine what you'll do for $18 an hour on the streets.
Right.
So it's like it's a toss up, man. It's how you view it.
Right. Now on that goat farm, were you able to put that on your resume for the outside life for other jobs and stuff, or how does that
Oh
work?
yeah, you can. And for those that don't know, it's best that you kind of keep track of the jobs you've done. From what time to what time and for how long to how long. So that way, when you get out, you can use that as your reference. It shows that you got some type of work history. And what's funny is when I do apply for jobs and I put, goat farm, Canyon City, Colorado, or heavy equipment, Buena Vista Correctional Facility, the outside world automatically assumes, oh, okay, you were working at the prison. No, I was in the prison working for the prison. so, so when I've gotten past a few interviews to where they didn't catch that. So in my head, I'm sitting here just waiting for it to come, waiting for it to come. Some of them won't say nothing, but when some do, and I tell them like, no, I was in the penitentiary, you can kind of see their face turn like, oh shit.
But it shouldn't be like that though. It should not be like that. It's about who you are as a person now. You know what I mean? Like you
Exactly.
said, how their whole demeanor kind of switched a little bit.
Yeah.
Is very. That's what I mean by how society views people that have been incarcerated. Not all. That's not true. Not all. But that stigma needs to end. They need to understand, and they don't really care until it happens to them or a loved one.
Yeah.
So.
That's true, man.
Uh,
That's true. I know a lot of people incarcerated that I'm still in contact with, and when people do find out I'm in the penitentiary, it's funny because people say, "Well, damn, my husband's in there," or my son's in there, and it's some people that you wouldn't think because they're in the upscale neighborhoods or they're just so high in society with their careers that you would think like, nah, ain't no way they're living like this. But in reality, they are. But most people are ashamed of it. But if they see an individual as myself, like prospering out here and transitioning in a way that, some people feel that it's impossible, then they open up more. It's like, damn, okay, well, then there is hope for my loved one when they get out. And that's kind of what I try to help people understand is regardless of how much time you've done, what you've been through, what your charges are, like there is another way to succeed rather than just giving up on yourself.
Right, absolutely, Alex. And there's this dude I stumbled across on TikTok. I forget his name, but he did some time in the South, and he now owns his own business, which is amazing. His own
That's what's up.
trucking business, and what he does now, he operates his business, and people that have been released from prison, He helps them get their is it CDL license for trucking or something like
Yeah,
that?
commercial
So,
driver's license. That's what's up.
right, yeah. So he's been doing that, which is amazing. And honestly, I cherish people like you. Once you get out, um, you went from step one, step two, step three. Now you're owning your own business. You know what I mean? And that's big boss moves right there.
Right on. I
Um,
appreciate it.
and it was. I bet it wasn't easy. There's always adversity yeah, that you have to deal with to get to where you're at now, and that's it, the sky's the limit for you, man. And shoot, you can own many, but you can own your moving company nationwide. Shoot, come out to Cali, have your own. What's the name of your trucking or not trucking moving business?
It's called Steady Hauling LLC.
You see what I mean? Steady hauling out here in California, man. Get that going, get that rolling up.
Yeah.
But
Right on, man. I appreciate it.
yeah, anytime. But Alex, another thing I wanted to get on is the death penalty. What are your thoughts on the death penalty?
Man, the death penalty, I'm like, it depends, man. Like,
Because Alex, sorry to cut you off, because people do, like, you do a horrific crime, you get put to death, sentenced to death, but people change over time. People change, their whole demeanor changes, ego changes, all that. And it's like the days come down. It's like, oh wow, like I'm totally changed, and you know, and now I'm about to be put to death. Like what? I
well,
just I. What are your thoughts on that, man?
I'm gonna tell you like this, man. Hell yeah, your ass is gonna change if you know you facing that gas chamber.
Right, right.
An individual ain't thinking about that when they're doing the shit that they're doing. But for instance, like, Colorado, man, we kind of set it off out here for mass murder. Like, we were the first ones to, do some weird shit. The Columbine school shooting, the Aurora movie theater shooting.
Right.
That was like what set it off. Now, everywhere around the nation is doing this type of shit. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but just this past week, a dude walked into King Supers out here in
Yep.
Boulder, Colorado, and shot up some shit. And like,
Absolutely.
people do things like that and hurt the innocent for no just cause. And when it comes time to pay their debt, they're quick to say, I'm a changed man. I'm sorry, this, and that. Well, if you was feeling the way you were feeling at the time of the crime, take it and run with it.
Right.
So it depends, man, because there's some individuals out here that I feel do deserve that. And at the point in time, we had that Aurora theater shooting,
Right.
and that was like the top of the nation. So you got that guy who committed that crime, and then not too long later, after he got convicted and they basically X'd out the death penalty, we had another individual out here in Colorado that committed another act of it wasn't terrorism, but it was a heinous crime. So
Mm.
he was a brother, and you got a white guy. So now our state's looking like, okay, you guys are pushing the death penalty towards the brother, but you just gave, this Caucasian individual a life sentence when damn well y'all should have, made him ride the death row trip. So it was like a toss up. So our eyes were on these cases, and because of the outcry of the streets saying, well, hey, you didn't put this white guy on death row, so how are you going to put this black guy on death row? It kind of swept it under the rug, but the individual did get, multiple life sentences. So they're trying to abolish it out here, but again, I honestly feel in my heart that it depends on the type of crime you've committed, because there are some individuals that do some shit that is just it's just uncalled for.
Right.
So
Now, now they labeled him mentally ill, right?
okay,
But
of
now
course,
but now if it was a Mexican or a Hispanic dude, he'd be called an illegal. If it was a Muslim, he'd be called a terrorist.
yeah,
If it was a black dude, he'd be called a gangbanger.
yeah.
Uh, all this, and then you see all this. It's crazy because this vendor dude died here in Fresno, and hearts goes out to him because those people, they work. They come from Mexico. They have a family to provide for, um, and they're just hustling. And this black dude, he was 18 years old, um, shot him, killed him. Uh, and that's not acceptable at all, no matter what race you are.
Yeah.
And for me, I feel like it was a gang initiation thing. And he's just young, and there in his youth years when he was like probably like 8 or whatever, there was probably some trauma that happened to him, or no role models. There's no discipline in the household. But anyways, in the comments are like saying, "Oh, BLM this, BLM that," and I'm like, dude, but it feels like a Mexican dude that killed the vendor, which was happened to be Hispanic.
Uh-huh.
They wouldn't be saying that. You know what I mean? It's just stuff like
Yeah.
that. I feel like blacks are targeted more than any other race, especially coming out of the system. I feel like the opportunities, the opportunities is there. Don't get me wrong, it's there, but there's a smaller window. There's more obstacles to get to where you want to be, rather than someone that is white. I don't like to bring race into it, but it's
Yeah.
facts.
Yeah.
Especially with the whole I've never been to prison, and the county know that. But especially with the sentencing, we see it all over. We see it all over social media, how the white person is sentenced with the same crime or same charges as a black person or Mexican person, whatever. And it's that's another thing too, is
Yeah.
why the criminal justice system is by far corrupt. You're there was a was it the case managers, how the case managers plot on their clients, um, and these clients not having any knowledge about these laws and stuff that are intact, the sentencing, it's all a foreign language to them, but these
Yeah.
people on the other hand are manipulating it all, and they're in full control. The prosecution team's talking to the defendant team, judges, all that, they're all talking, but I don't know what it was in your standpoint about having. Did you have like a paid lawyer? Was it different for you, or?
Yeah. So what happened was on my case, so I was on the run for like a couple of months, and well, not even a couple months, like almost a month, I would say. And when I ended up getting incarcerated, this individual came to my cell and was like, "Yeah, I'm here to represent you." And he gave me his card. So I look at the card, and the card said Will Smith, and I look at this dude, and this dude cross-eyed than a motherfucker. So I'm like, "Oh yeah," I said, "You definitely ain't represent me." So they already had that plan. Like they was just about to send me to the wolves and get, ate up. But by the grace of God, man, my people came together and they dropped $185,000 cash on my attorney. So I was represented by one of the best attorneys in the nation. He's the individual that takes care of all the Broncos and the Nuggets, and his name is Harvey Steinberg. And
Okay.
yeah, he looked out for me, man. And yeah, if you ain't got money to better your defense, man, you can damn near kiss your freedom goodbye, because they will set you up to dry, hang and dry.
Right, absolutely. Now, do they have in prison, or in county jail? Do they have people? Do they have inmates that practice the law, like to become a lawyer and represent some inmates that are in there? Because frick, what was his name? Ah, he went to prison on the East Coast. I think he went to Rikers as well. I forget his name, but it's a movie. What's it called? For Life. Something. I'm gonna get back with you after this. I'm gonna send you a text.
Okay.
But this dude, he practiced the law. He went to the law library. Studied all that, and he represented these inmates and tried representing himself. And it took years and all that, but he freed himself actually, which is truly amazing. Because talk about all the obstacles you have to go through, especially being an
Oh yeah.
inmate, to represent
Yeah.
yourself and how they view you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty wild. And there's another story. I'm not too sure if you heard, um, with that dude from Rikers Island as well. Um, Man, I'm going blank right now. That dude, he was 16 years old. He got convicted of a crime of stealing a backpack, and he didn't even steal it. He spent years in Rikers Island. At the age of 16, got tried as an adult. Um, and years after, he actually committed suicide because of the trauma that happened inside there. the fighting and the violence and all that, the sexual, physical abuse that he
Yeah.
took. And it's crazy because when he got out, he was so institutionalized and the effects of trauma. In his backyard, he would just, there's like a little square, and he would do his whole routine. He would just go right in the square and, do his little laps and stuff.
Yeah.
And he would think cops were following him and stuff. And he couldn't take it anymore, just what was going on. And he actually committed suicide, unfortunately. And
Damn.
it's crazy because there's like a little like branches and stuff that creates a cross. I'll actually send it to you later.
Okay.
But it's pretty wild how the institution can, or prison can, really affect someone in county. And that dude was found out to be, he was innocent as well.
Yeah.
And there's been a
Crazy.
lot of people. I don't know if you've came across people that have been in prison that were actually innocent. Have you came across anyone?
Yeah. Everybody in prison is
Yeah.
innocent. No, I'm just playing. uh,
Yeah.
yeah. I've dealt with a couple people, man, that they, everybody claims to be innocent in prison, but yeah, man, there it was a big case out here. What was it? Like three juveniles back in the '90s, I believe. They supposedly broke into their teacher's house. I think they killed her, stole her car, and then went joyriding. And then they ended up catching them in her stolen car. They went back to
Mm,
her house and found her dead. So they charged all three juveniles as adults. Well, one individual that was involved with them, didn't know somehow or something like that, but he ended up spending like 15, 20 years in there, and somehow they proved his innocence and they released him, and it was big headlines out here in Denver. So that was one
oh,
individual, and then there was a couple more that I don't know by name, but yeah, they did get released on appeals.
that's wild.
Yeah,
Dang.
it's serious, man. Like that's one thing, a lot of us that used to run the streets, we weren't raised right, man. Like as far as big homies and little homies go, because you know, basically, the big homie will toss you a gun and say, go do this. But they don't tell you about the consequences of what will happen if you do this. Like, you have to go to jail. This is the process. This is what you do. This is what you don't do. Everybody thinks they listen to a couple rap songs and read a couple urban fiction books. They got the code to the game, but it's not like that. You mess around and catch a case, and you don't know the first thing about law. You don't know your arraignment, your prelim, your motions, your pretrial, your trial. Like people don't know the steps to the criminal justice system, and that's where a lot of us fail. So individuals look at the little homies that, damn, this dude's a snitch. Well, yeah, because he didn't know what he was getting himself into. All he knows is to do this and that, but you didn't tell him what to do when you got caught. So
Right.
I don't know, man. Nowadays, like the game ain't what it used to be. So for those that are trying to make a name for themselves these days, like to be honest with you, it ain't even worth it because you'll fuck around and catch a life sentence behind some bullshit. And while you're in there fighting your case and realizing that the actuality of you getting 150 years is a reality, that's when all of a sudden you want to change. So, man, think about that shit before you go and do what your homies is trying to convince you to do, because at the end of the day, they definitely ain't gonna do that time for you. And I had to learn the hard way, because in my situation, man, one of my homies, he was older than me, and it was a dude that I would have bet my life on it that he would have never turned on me the way he did.
Mm,
And when I ended up getting caught for this, and they try to re-question me or whatever, I basically man, I would have bet my life that he didn't do what he did, and he did exactly what my mom and my grandparents told me he would do from the first time they seen him. So
mm.
for that to have happened, I almost lost my life because
You're good. You're good. You don't worry about it. You're good.
you know.
Yeah, you're good. I got you now.
Okay, yeah, it was an incoming call, but I almost lost my life to entrusting my livelihood into an individual's hands that I thought was somebody solid. So
Mm,
it's just not what it used to be, man. So
right.
yeah, the game
Wow.
ain't what it used to be.
That's crazy. So you were gangbanging at a young age?
To be honest with you, I ain't never been a gangbanger, but I was affiliated, and
Okay.
to no hood or nothing like that, but in my city, man, I'm a well-known individual, and I'm good with all sides of the map, like from the north to the east, the south to the west. And I always kept it that way because I like to be neutral to where I don't want to not be able to talk to these individuals, or I don't want to be limited to you know what I need to get my hands on back in the day. And but yeah, man, I'm well affiliated with a lot of people.
Right. Now, how does that apply into prison? How does that work for like the politics wise and like shot caller wise? What was that all? How does that apply into prison?
Well, I know from doing all the time I've done, every state's different. So, like, I know the politics in California are a lot heavier than the politics in Colorado. You gotta, when you get to, California, you have to choose a side. Either you're riding with the brothers, you're riding with Hispanics, you're riding with the Bloods, you're riding with Crips. And out here, basically, man, you could ride solo. You ain't gotta choose a side out here. And I mean, you are food to sharks if you don't choose a side. But out here, people respect you just trying to do your time and go home. So don't be this individual in the streets that claim to be big homie this or young homie this, and then come to the penitentiary and try to tuck your tail on, I'm just trying to go home type shit. Because then
Right.
that's when you're going to get violated and run through the course of your actions. But for the most part, man, our politics are, if you are who you say you are, you're going to ride with that car. If you're you know, pretending to be something that you ain't, you will get tested. So it just depends, man, how you carry yourself and how you want your time to ride.
Right. Now, Alex, for someone that's their first offense and it's like a non-violent crime, like how, from your perspective, like, or like, from your perspective from watching others that had non-violent crimes, and it's their first day in prison, how was that for them? Like, just from you witnessing it.
Um, Timid. They're real timid. They don't know what to expect. They're standoffish. They're nervous. Uh, they're just trying to get a feel for their environment. They're trying to see if they're going to make it throughout the night. They're trying to see if they're going to get Shawshanked. They're trying to see if they're going to leave in a body bag or if they're going to check in. So you
Right.
could just tell because the individual doesn't walk with confidence. They don't walk with their head high. They don't walk with their chest out. They're walking like they're scared, is pretty much
Right.
what it boils down to.
Right. Now, Alex, how does religion uh taken prison, like the Muslims, the Christians? I don't know if the Christians have any group, but I know the Muslims do. How was that in prison, like for the whole religious side?
Mm. So as far as religion goes, some people hide behind religion. All of a sudden they come to prison, want to become a preacher, or they want to pretend to be something that they ain't. And I mean, your Muslim brothers, like they've been rocking with the Muslim nation, the Islam nation, from the streets to the penitentiary, or they do find Islam in the penitentiary. More power to religion. I don't have nothing against it. But some do it to better their lives, and some do it to hide behind it. So
Right.
I mean, I don't know. After seeing it for so long and doing so much time, you tend to build the ability to read an individual because you're in there with thousands of people. So you can have a conversation with an individual, watch how this person carries himself, and you're like, all right, he's categorized in this part. Like this dude, he claims to be a preacher, but as soon as they release him, he's gonna be smoking crack in the parking lot. So I'm definitely
Right.
not listening to him. You know what I mean? So it goes both ways, man. It's a cold game, man. The penitentiary, it can make or break you, but
Right.
it can better you, man. It can lift you up in all aspects of
Absolutely.
life. Your game can be a lot smoother than what it was before you went in there. I can tell you that.
Right. Now, hey, Alex, you spent about 12 years in prison. Like, um, obviously, I feel like from talking to you now, it really didn't, like, you haven't become institutionalized from that. Like, how did you manage to stay intact and keep the mental head strong?
Mm, shoot, I would say
Because 12 years is
Just
a lot,
man,
huh?
just you know, yeah, man, my grandparents, you know, they're the foundation of this, man, because they pray. They're on their hands and knees every day praying, and they've been doing that since they were kids. So I would definitely give praise to God on that. And then, you know, my immediate family, my wife, my kids, my mother, like they kept money on the phone. They came and seen me. You know, they allowed me to see that I had something when I got out. So with that being said, I had to do my part and stay as healthy as can be. You know, get my physical health up, my mental game up, and just come out here knowing that, you know, I just came from a place that a lot of people can't make it out of. So I need to continue to be a better person and avoid all obstacles at all costs and stay in the gym, stay eating healthy, and just strive for more. Just constantly want to progress. Don't sit stagnant. You want to be better than what you were the day before.
Right. Absolutely, Alex. Man, you were pumping that iron in the Colorado pen, huh? Don't lie to me, huh?
Look, nah, see, this is all I bought all this on Canteen, man. I bought a left pec, you know, a week prior, and then I bought my delts the next month.
That's
Nah, man, I
funny,
was in there
man.
getting it. Yeah, that was mandatory, man. I had to do that because it became my therapy. It was when you're frustrated in the pod, you want to do some pull-ups, you want to do some push-ups, you want to do some dips, you want to, you know, deadlift, you want to do everything you can to keep your mind off of what your life was really like on the inside. It becomes your therapy, like I said, and
Right.
it still stays the same to me out here. Is I have to do it. If I don't, I feel like I'm cheating myself.
Right. Alex, did you take anything from prison that you use today in this world, like for your everyday life?
Uh, yeah, man, I did. Let's see. What I took from prison was uh, tomorrow ain't promised. Um, Stick to those that want your best interest. Anybody that wants you to do better, them are the individuals you need to surround yourself with, and appreciate the little things. I'm
Right.
talking holding your girl's hand, walking your dog, cutting your grandparents' grass, just the simple shit, man. We all materialistic out here, and everybody wants these red bottoms and these Louis Vuitton red all with all this shit. But in the penitentiary, you're in greens, man, and you're wearing some raggedy ass Reeboks and some New Balances.
Right.
So, man, just appreciate what you do have, man, because you can lose all that in the blink of an eye.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I noticed too, people that have, been in prison and now they're out, they cherish life a little bit more, actually a lot more, because there was things important, things that were taken away from them. And, sometimes, I know this is kind of weird to say, some people actually need prison to actually
Yeah,
understand what life is all about and what the beauty of life is, and like how you're talking about materialistic things. It's not about that, it's about the small things, and I respect you for that, for you understand that too. Now, Alex, uh, what are you doing now? And yeah, what are you doing now today from keeping you from going back into prison? So basically, keeping you from reoffending.
you want the truth, or you want me to lie to
Yeah, no, whatever you want, bro.
you? No, man, the truth is working. If
Right,
I can go back to my younger self and give myself one piece of advice, it would be to get a full time job and to keep it. Because at the end of your 8 or 10 hour shift, you are too burnt to be running the streets. The homies that call and be like, hey, let's go do this, let's go do that. Man, I ain't got no energy to do none of that. So
right.
getting a job and keeping a job, regardless of what your side hustle is. If you're selling shoes on the side, you're selling purses on the side, that full time job is going to burn you out to where you ain't got too much juice in your batteries to do anything else illegal.
Hey, hey, Alex, do you have any regrets in life?
Do I have any regrets? Uh, yeah, I do. I think I have. I have one regret, man, and my regret was or is not treating the woman of my life better like I should have before I left. But she's still here with me. She's still rocking.
There you go.
So I think I
That's
wish I
all.
could go back and been a better man for her.
Right. I feel that, man. Respect to you, bro. Well, I mean, now you're there, now you're present, and you're doing what you got to do. You got, your family. Now, how was it? I don't want to keep you too long, but how was it being in the pen and knowing that your family's on the outside? Like, how does that, like, kind of really? Well, they were visiting you, but it's not the same, Especially, they'd come and visit, and then those last couple seconds, you turn your back, and then they have to leave and stuff. How was that for you?
Um, I don't know. It was good, man. It was a good feeling because my wife kept my boys in my life, throughout the whole time. I was here once a month or, every other week type deal, and that was for 12 years.
Mm.
So, it didn't affect me watching them leave. The only thing that affected me was hearing the struggles and stresses over the phone or in the visit that I had no control over. I hated seeing them struggle. I hated hearing, their worries on how the bills were going to get paid or that they were only available to send me a certain amount because of, how hard it was out here. So with my hands being tied behind my back and unable to do nothing, that's what affected me the most. It wasn't the time, it wasn't my living situation. It was just what I couldn't do for my family is what affected me.
Right. Absolutely. Hey, Alex, how would you, what are some words that describe you and the person you are today? How would you describe yourself?
Mm. Uh, Ambitious, um,
I got that tatted
self
on me.
motivated. Oh, you doing? That's a good word right there. uh, and a mastermind. I consider
Right.
myself a mastermind.
Right. Now, Alex, man, dude, that's amazing, bro. What do you have? Do you have any goals that you want to accomplish in the next couple of years? Maybe 5, 10 years, maybe.
To be honest with you, yeah, me and my wife, man, we're in the process of buying our first home here in the
Oh,
next few
congrats.
months. So we'll knock that off. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. We'll knock that off here this year, and we're in hopes of starting another business, man. And this business idea I got coming is something that Colorado ain't seen before. And I
Right.
promise you, if we can lift this off the ground, I would love to come back and have another interview with you and tell you exactly what happened because it's a cold plan.
Hey, brother, I'm pumped. I'm antsy right